Hi, my name is Dr. Avery Klosser, and I am an assistant professor of emerging technologies and learning at the University of Florida. I'm sharing preliminary results from a project in collaboration with Dr. Virginia Clinton LaSalle at the University of North Dakota. Our project is on navigating ethical considerations of online research to design open K-12 materials. Before diving in, take a moment to reflect on your experience with open education resources. What role, if any, does research in the development of those resources have, and why? Feel free to pause the video to reflect on this. In my experience as a learning scientist, research with students in applied settings can provide evidence that informs the design of open resources like instructional activities and approaches to supporting learning through types of worked examples and through different types of feedback. And now, many digital learning platforms actually provide free services for both researchers and teachers and students. Platforms and software like the ones here provide open instructional content, freedom to create content, and/or they support experimentation within their own platforms or other learning management systems. By doing so, they're creating infrastructure for open materials to be rapidly developed, tested, iterated on, and delivered. So to answer that question, we've been conducting a survey soliciting responses from representatives in Institutional Review Board, or IRB, offices at universities in the United States. Our research questions are: 1. How is an IRB application involving a digital learning platform for K-12 education research reviewed across institutions in the U.S.? And 2, how, if at all, is IRB determination informed by the goal of testing features to improve the design of free online math tutoring? So, to answer these questions, we have designed a survey in Qualtrics where participants first fill out a consent form. We ask them to then read an abbreviated version of an IRB application with a project that involves using materials created in an educational tutoring platform with elementary school students. After they read the sample application, they provide their determination of the project and then provide some demographic information about their institution. So far, we have emailed 452 universities that have been classified as either very high research levels, or other doctoral professional universities as set by Carnegie Learning classifications. And here, if you want to pause the video, you are welcome to read this section of the abbreviated proposal to get an idea for what the experiment is about. So far, we are still doing data collection, but already we've had 115 folks open the survey, 111 who consented, and then beyond that, 81 respondents who actually participated in the survey beyond the consent form. Of those people, we've found that 56% of respondents determined that the application should be considered exempt, whereas 25% thought that the research should be considered not exempt under the categories for exemption. Digging into that a little bit deeper, we can see that the different respondents also had different determinations or different rationales for their determination. So for folks who said the research was exempt, we asked why, under which categories would you consider it exempt, and some people gave multiple exemption categories. Overwhelmingly, 41 people said that this would fall under education research. 7 said this would fall under surveys, interviews, educational tests, public observations, and 3 individuals said this counts as a benign behavioral intervention. For the folks who said this research would not be considered exempt, at least with the information provided in the survey, one did not give a determination on why. One actually said this would not be considered human subjects research, so exempt wouldn't be necessary. 21 overwhelmingly said this would probably warrant expedited approval and had follow-up questions or more information they would request from the researchers. One said that they would needed this to go through full board review for full approval, and one person said that this would be considered unethical and they wouldn't provide approval at all. So the contrast between the majority of folks thinking that this is considered educational research, exempt, wouldn't warrant opt-in consent, in contrast to an individual thinking that this is not even human subjects research, in contrast to someone saying this is unethical, it is somewhat alarming that there is no consensus on how the application was reviewed across institutions. And then coming back to the role of our goal in informing open materials, I pulled a few quotes on how respondents said that the goal of informing open materials played into their decision-making process. So there was a theme that a lot of respondents said, this information does not inform my decision as it does not impact the level of risk. Another respondent said, I think the fact that the prospective subjects are a vulnerable population is more crucial than the goal of improving the design of online math tutoring. Another individual said, it is open access, therefore parental permission would also not be needed. The tutoring can be incorporated in the general curriculum. So between those two responses, we're seeing a different interpretation, but still the same consideration of wanting to consider how do we work with students and what is the level of involvement that we need from parents for informed consent. And finally, a respondent said, the fact that the online material is available during classroom time in a platform the students already utilize was the determination for me. So we see that providing the information that the research is looking to inform the design of open materials may not change the way the study is viewed, but helps provide additional context that's useful to the reviewers. So we are still doing data collection and we are still doing data analysis, but from what we can see from preliminary results, it seems that there is no field-wide consensus yet on how this research should be done. This is alarming considering that educational technology and free platforms are being used increasingly often and can be a great way to provide students with open education resources. But if we can figure out standards for how to do research to inform those resources, they could be so much more powerful. We also see through the open responses so far that IRB representatives are attending to different ethical considerations. And through the responses I shared, I hope that that's given you an idea of what some of those considerations may be and how to consider incorporating them in applications if you are doing research with this intent. And I wanted to point out that the goal of informing open materials is only somewhat informative, but it seems that it does help convey your intention and your plan with research to inform IRB determination. So looking ahead, we're going to continue data collection analysis. We're going to do a deeper dive on how these different standards may vary based on university characteristics and do a thematic analysis of open responses to better understand what are ethical considerations that IRBs are undertaking and how can we share those to help with transparency for this research process. Thank you so much for listening, and please feel free to email me if you have any questions. All right, thank you.